Vernon Jordan went to Howard University, came back, and got involved with the integration of the University of Georgia. That was Charlene Hunter and Hamilton Holmes. Vernon Jordan was the attorney, well, unadmitted attorney, who brought them to the registrar's office in Athens, Georgia. After that, Vernon did not pass the Georgia bar. Knowing migration patterns as we do, most blacks who live in Georgia migrate to places like Ohio and Michigan, because they're just simply straight up. Sometimes there may be a deviation over here to Pennsylvania or wherever, but the basic migration pattern of blacks in Georgia is Ohio or Michigan. Vernon Jordan, after having not passed the bar in Georgia, and I'm from Georgia, it's inconceivable to me that he would have gone to the state of Arkansas and taken the Arkansas bar. That's not in the migration pattern. The governor of Arkansas back then was Winthrop Rockefeller. Vernon Jordan came back, and at that particular time, the Ford Foundation, the Carnegie Foundation, the federal government all had concluded that blacks had become extremely dangerous in America. Because in '64 there was rebellions in urban centers, there was a civil rights movement in the South, there was Malcolm X in the North, and so black people were on the move. And they were on the move faster than the pace that America had anticipated. And so the federal government decided that voting was something that would take blacks off the streets. And they financed the voter education project, which was part of the Southern Regional Council, and made Vernon Jordan the head of the voter education project. And as many of us know, the whole Black Power movement, part of it was the electoral process. Because back then we were saying that if we were able to get involved in the electoral process and politically become astute and powerful, it was a road to liberation. And so as the voting rights provisions were passed, we began to see a decline of blacks in the streets after 1965. Because between 65 and the time that Dr. King was assassinated, there was not that much activity that Dr. King was involved in. Because black folks on that level had pretty much fallen back. You had the Black Panther Party and other matters, but as far as the movement was concerned, Dr. King was out of a job until he came up with the Poor People's Campaign and the anti-war movement. He was literally out of a job. Vernon Jordan then became the head of the United Negro College Fund, where your illustrious former Congressman Bill Gray now heads, while he is also engaged, or well, once headed, while he's now engaged in these other State Department activities that he's carrying on. But Vernon became the head of United Negro College Fund, and then the National Urban League. In the meantime, he started attending the Bilderberg Conference, which was formed in the Netherlands and financed by a corporation named Unilever and the Central Intelligence Agency. And it is a very secretive operation. I mean, only people with clear security clearances are involved in the Bilderberg Conference. Now, in the meantime, I don't think it was an accident that Bill Clinton was chosen in the early 60s to become the president, eventually, of the United States. Because here was a white boy that they took and introduced him to John Kennedy. That's on file right now, before he died. And then after that, sent him to Georgetown University, which is noted for international affairs. That's why he's getting ready to pass this general agreements on tariffs and trade, because they had already worked out the schedule. They needed somebody on that level. Left there, became a Rhodes Scholar, then came back to Yale University and got a law degree, and then went back to Arkansas, where he got a number of posts until such time as he became president of the United States. And then of all of the people in the world to head his transition team and to be his buddy, Vernon Jordan. Now, if this theory is correct, then the question is, what Negroes that was close to Dr. King are now close to the Rockefellers, and what role did they play, if any, in the assassination of Dr. King? Now, I could go a little deeper in that, but I'm just going to let you whet your appetite on that. And we'll deal with that, the conclusion of that, at a later date. But that gives you an opportunity to do a little nosing around yourself while we are in that process. But the serious part of this is that also going back is that I believe that, in my opinion, that Thurgood Marshall betrayed the dreams and aspirations of his mentor, Charles Hamilton Houston. I think he betrayed it. Charles Hamilton Houston is the most brilliant lawyer that I have ever met. I mean, not met, but ever read about, because he died while I was still a child in the latter part of the 40s or early 1950. Charles Hamilton Houston was one of the most gifted lawyers that I've ever read about. More gifted than Clarence Darrow or any of these guys. Because Clarence Darrow was known to pay people to fix cases. I mean, that was really why he became so good. He was a fixer. All right? And then you know how white folk, they just elevate their own after that. You know, they have no shame, so they don't mind that. But Charles Hamilton Houston was, in my opinion, the most brilliant black man. And I don't believe that his death was natural.